From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fairbanks Evening News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Our top story this evening, replacing the principal at Denali Elementary School, turned out to be a hot topic at last night's Fairbanks North Star Borough School Board meeting. Longtime Denali principal Tim Doran announced he is retiring at the end of the year, and the school district has started a search for his replacement. Members of the Denali PTA last night told the board that the district is not getting parents involved in the hiring process. Superintendent Pete Lewis had given the Fairbanks Principals Association a chance to submit applications before opening the process to outside applicants. Many Denali parents spoke during the public testimony last night. They expressed numerous concerns with the way the process has been handled.
Communication, to be honest, has been reactive. It hasn't been proactive. So when you find yourself in a situation where you think the other side is reacting, you're a little bit concerned about how there might be some knee-jerk decisions being made. And the reason why we want to be involved is because Denali, I think it has like 65% of the students are students of color. There's a significant socioeconomic diverse component at that school, and my concern is that the superintendent, maybe a couple other administrators, may make that decision in a vacuum.
The school board will take up the discussion at their next meeting on March 5th. Superintendent Pete Lewis says that the final decision on who to hire will not be made before that meeting, since the board made it clear they want to talk about it. The school board's legislative committee also met last night to discuss the efforts to get more funding for interior classrooms in the state's budget. The district is still fighting to get the increase in the base student allocation that they say will catch them up fiscally after years of being flat funded. Officials say they need a $250 to $300 raise in the base student allocation in order to keep major cuts and increased classroom sizes from going into effect next year. The governor has proposed an $85 raise. Governor Sean Parnell has repeatedly stated that he wants to see what additional service districts from across the state will be offering with the additional funding. However, administrators say they have rising costs every year that need to be accounted for by legislators.
It is frustrating that that the growth amount that is there it isn't always accounted for in terms of health care, in terms of energy. Well, the energy cost has been accounted for in the last 3 years, but prior to that wasn't for a couple. And so it's just trying to figure out what are those regular sustainable funding sources so that you can plan ahead.
At a press conference today in Juneau, lawmakers said it appears a bill to get a natural gas pipeline built is suddenly on a fast track. It's expected to move out of the Resources Committee this week. Members of the Senate minority say they were asked last Friday to prepare amendments to a bill that they haven't even done an overview on yet. Senator Hollis French said there's no quicker way to derail a mega project than to move too fast to get it done.
The Black and Veatch report shows that the project is out of the money. The Black and Veatch report shows that there are other projects around the world that will fill the capacity, the world's demand before our supply comes online. We've got questions about TransCanada's role in this project and whether they help create alignment or create misalignment. There was an op-ed piece yesterday in the Anchorage paper making that point, and so our caution is to slow down, take your time, think about it a couple times over, because it's a massive multi-year project.
Senator Lisa Murkowski says she is pleased to see the federal government working to follow through on its trust responsibility to America's first people. She said the government must provide the necessary and legally required resources to attend to their medical needs nationwide. Murkowski says she is pleased to see the funding levels or operating plans of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and Indian Health Service reject the injustice of shortchanging contract support costs and include the needed funds for staffing packages at Native health care facilities nationwide, including the 6 new Alaska Native health facilities statewide.
I think that the court laid it out very, very clearly. It said that full reimbursement will be provided. So we've got to make that happen within that budget. We've got to make that priority.
All right, when we come back, StoryCorps visited the Interior. We have more in part 2 of our coverage on that. Also, an initiative letting voters decide whether to raise the minimum wage in Alaska has met the minimum requirements to be on the August 19th ballot. Those stories are next. Stay with us. And welcome back. A redeployment ceremony was held yesterday at the Fort Wainwright Alert Holding Area. The ceremony was for the 472nd Military Police Company stationed at the post. Soldiers from the company recently returned from a deployment to Guam. While there, the unit was conducting a security mission.
An initiative letting voters decide whether to raise the minimum wage in Alaska has met the minimum requirements to be on the August 19th ballot. Division of Elections Director Gail Finanumii says in an email that about 6,000 voters remain to be checked before the initiative will be certified. As of last Friday, the ballot had more than 1,100 signatures over the required amount and had met other requirements. The minimum wage is $7.75 an hour in Alaska. The proposal would raise that to $8.75 an hour on January 1st of 2015 and to $9.75 a year later.
Attorney General Michael Garrity says he will continue to defend Alaska's constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. Alaska voters in 1998 approved a constitutional amendment defining marriages between a man and a woman. Federal courts have struck down state constitutional bans in Utah and Oklahoma through appeal, though appeals are pending. Garrity says he won't make his decisions based on federal district court decisions that still must be reviewed by appellate courts or perhaps the U.S. Supreme Court.
Most students are well into their spring semester, but for adults 50 years and older, classes are just around the corner. And these classes could make university students jealous. The first session of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute starts in March, and the program still has more than 60 classes available, ranging from Alaskan science to prize-winning literature. Even though classes are geared toward people nearing retirement, one instructor says he loves teaching students K through gray. That sentiment is echoed through the whole program.
Well, it's fun because it's the essence of education without any of the hoops to jump through. There are no grades, no tests, no certifications. It's just a bunch of people taking a short course in a subject just because they thought it looked interesting.
Now, before you can register for classes, you have to become a member with Ali. For more details, call 474-6607 or stop by the office at the old U Park building that's on University Avenue.
Military members and their families had a chance to record their stories this week on Fort Wainwright. Roughly 20 interviews were scheduled at Arctic Light Elementary School, and now each of these has a unique and special part in history. We explain more in tonight's Military Report.
You remember what it was like when we were 19 and totally in love and couldn't tell anyone?
My father was everything to me. I lived my life trying to be half the man my father was.
Do you have any regrets, Grandpa?
No. Lived a wonderful life. I want you to do the same thing. Live with courage.
As the News Center reported last week, StoryCorps was in town to capture the story of military members as part of their military initiative.
It's been really touching to talk to people here in Fairbanks. We've spoken to military spouses, we've talked to people who educate military families. There's been a lot of really moving stories about what it's like to serve and what it's like to be the support system for those who serve.
Documenting your conversations can be very emotional. I personally recorded a conversation with StoryCorps that we will keep in our family for decades to come.
We provide a space for people to talk about things that they don't normally have the opportunity to talk about. So we try to create a space that's comfortable, where you feel like you can be candid. And so people do get emotional, and hopefully they also have the opportunity to tell each other how much they love each other.
Those working with StoryCorps travel the country providing an outlet for people. They then share their stories and store them in the Library of Congress. They say each and every story is important.
Every story matters, and so I think that it's really great to see that people feel like their story is important when they leave, that you don't have to be a celebrity or a politician to have your voice count. So I think when people leave feeling like they've recorded a legacy, that's really rewarding.
Stephanie Woodard, News Center 11.
The Military Report is brought to you by Stanley Nissan, innovation for all.
Joe Cook is always busy, forever busy.
Absolutely, and up next he has a basketball-filled sportcast with previews of the UAF basketball team's upcoming home games and a look at what happened in high school hoops last night.
Wow, he will be back after the break, so come back.